Happy New Year. Welcome back, Petreece. Good to have you with me on the 981 once again.
Happy New Year to you too, Tiffany, and great to be here. Thankful to be entering 2024 and thankful to be still doing what I love doing. So Happy New Year to all our listeners, all our viewers. I really pray for God's blessings of emotional and spiritual growth in 2024. Remember, one way, Jesus. And people may not agree with me on that, but I know what I'm saying. In this month, I'm looking at self-awareness. So I'm starting a new series on self-awareness. I like learning and I want our listeners to always be learning also. And not just learning for the sake of knowledge, but to be able to truly implement what we are learning, for things to be practical. So I am doing a new series, self-awareness, and in this series, what I want to address is what is self-awareness, what behaviors normally indicate that you lack self-awareness, and how to become more self-aware. So today, I am actually spending the time looking at what is self-awareness, and I would be looking at some different professional articles that I would have found as I did some more research. So for me, so again, welcome. And it is self-awareness. So get your pens, your paper, your pencil, but also know that you can get the video, get the recording on Isaac 98.1 FM on their Facebook page, but also on FBN TV. You can get the recording. So for me, self-awareness is one of the most important qualities necessary to have and sustain healthy relationships. I don't believe that any of us is, let's say, 100% self-aware, which is why we need feedback. We need feedback from friends, from loved ones, from colleagues. We need the feedback that we get when we read the word, when the Holy Spirit convicts us of things, because there are things that we do that not necessarily right, but we can't see it in that moment, right? So it's really, really important that we are always open to understanding and seeing things about ourselves that we may not see, A lack of self-awareness causes a lot of conflicts, a lot of misunderstandings, and breakup of relationships. So this is something that we need to understand is really, really critical. And as I shared before, what I want to be looking at is what is self-awareness, what behaviors normally indicate that you lack self-awareness. And sometimes it's self-awareness in certain areas. We may be more aware of ourselves in certain areas than others, and then how to become more self-aware. And as I said, in today's program, I'm addressing what is self-awareness. So self-awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and introspection, right? And also reflection also on the Word of God. So it includes gaining an understanding of and insight into one's strengths, qualities, weaknesses, defects, ideas, thoughts, beliefs, ideals, responses, reactions, attitudes, emotions, and motivations. All these things. You're understanding these things about yourself. Self-awareness includes assessing how one is perceived by others. This is important, right? And how others are impacted based on one's behaviors, responses, and conduct. And this is so important because I could be la, 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 and just leaving a trail of wreckage behind me. People feeling abused, people feeling not good about themselves, people feeling misunderstood. And I just in my la, la land because I am so not self-aware. Now, aboutrelationships.com says it so nicely that I just decided to quote them. And this is what they said. Self-awareness is important in every area of life because it is essential when dealing with relationships. If you are aware of the things you say and do, you will be able to recognize when your actions bother, hurt, or anger someone. This may sound straightforward, but it takes some adults years before they understand what this concept means and how to apply it in their life. End of quote. And I know situations like the first time you see somebody in a long time, and the first thing you tell them is about how fat they get or how big their belly is. And you could see on their face, they don't even know how to respond to you, and they're just trying to be courteous, but they want to slap you, right? And you're not self-aware to know. Just think about it. Would you like it if that's the first thing somebody tells you? So self-awareness really helps us to be loving to others. You know, you come in somebody's house. Oh God, how this place looking, so what happening here? Oh my God. Oh my goodness, though. Right? So, and you think this person in the right mind, and know the place probably not looking the best, but really, it's not like I'm blind, and it's not like people don't have mirrors. So I think the whole thing about it is so many times we could be aware, not when I say, there are times when we only aware of our reality and we are not aware of others' reality, right? And self-awareness helps us to look at both, because even as we look at what it is, we realize that there's a public self-awareness and there's a private self-awareness. Now, I am sure that we have all had to deal with persons who only saw issues from their perspective, right? Or empathy, and I put in empathy in quotations, right? Was only in one direction, and empathy for themselves, which of course we know is not empathy, because empathy is seeing the world through someone else's eyes, right? Or they can seem to understand how they are hurting themselves or others. You know, you're talking to them and no, you wrong. But everybody else is saying this is the situation, sister, brother, right? Those are at best, as I said, difficult relationships. And if you have to live day in, day out with a person who has low self-awareness, and remember, we could be aware in certain areas, but yet still not aware in other areas. So it's important to understand that. So I may have high self-awareness in certain areas, but low in other areas, right? Those relationships can feel abusive and they can feel even traumatic. And that's why this is such an important quality to have, a healthy self-awareness. Being self-aware is a demonstration of one's ability to accurately recognize one's own emotions, thoughts, and values, along with the ability to understand how these emotions, thoughts, values impact their own behavior. Additionally, self-awareness encompasses an individual's ability to accurately assess one's own strengths and limitations with a well-grounded sense of competence, optimism, and a growth mindset. Remember, it is okay to know what your strengths and your limitations are. It doesn't matter how hard an eye tries, an eye cannot see. That doesn't, sorry, not an eye cannot see, an eye cannot smell. An eye is not a nose, it cannot smell. So nothing is wrong with the eye because it can't smell. There is a place that the eye has to function. And because all of us were given different gifts, different abilities, different talents, different capabilities, there are things that we would be really good at. There are things that we will be okay at. And there are things we'll never be good at. And that's okay, because God created us to function in different areas. And part of self-awareness is understanding that, is knowing that, is being able to accept that. And you know, when I was doing this, I thought about that story that I learned as a child with the fox and the crow. And for those of you all who don't know it, a crow was flying and found a piece of cheese, picked up the cheese and went to a tree on a branch to eat this cheese. Now the fox saw the crow with the cheese in her beak. and of course wanted the cheese. Who doesn't like cheese? So the fox started to compliment the crow, tell the crow that she's so beautiful. And of course, if she's so beautiful, then she must have a beautiful voice to go with that. So of course, the crow, feeling good, of course, yes, the crow is beautiful, but beautiful voice, you and I know, no, right? Right, quack, quack, not a beautiful voice. But the crow decided, okay, so a beautiful voice, yes, I'm going to show my beautiful voice, and open its beak to sing, which is really to croak, or to crow, and the cheese fell out, and the fox was able to steal the cheese like that. And when I think of self-awareness, I think about it like that also. I am aware. So I'm aware that I am no best singer, and that's the truth. I could carry a tune, I could make a joyful noise, right? So if somebody come and say, Petreece, of course, girl, you can well sing. I feel you should be on some singing competition thing. Trinidad's Got Talent, Trinidad and Tobago got talent. I know that is chain up, that is mama guy, right? That's because people want to sit down and laugh at me. So I can humbly bow out and say, Ole, I hear Ole, but I know that is not one of my talents, right? And so one of the things about self-awareness is being aware of our strengths, our weakness, and also a part of self-awareness is self-acceptance. So don't be like the crow, right? Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Good? So people can't mama guy. Now, there are two categories or two types of self-awareness, and this is very important. And the following information is from an online 2018 article entitled What Self-Awareness Really Is by Dr. Tasha Eurich, and it's found in the Harvard Business Review. And I just went to do some research on Dr. Eurich, and Dr. Eurich is an organizational psychologist, researcher, and a New York Times best-selling author. So these two types of self-awareness. So I'm quoting from the article here. Psychologists often break self-awareness down into two different types, either private or public. And we'll be hearing another word, which means private and public. So across the studies, we examined two broad categories of self-awareness kept emerging. The first, which was dubbed internal self-awareness, which is commonly called private self-awareness, represents how clearly we see our own values, passions, aspirations fit with our environment, our reactions, and our reactions would include our thoughts, or feelings, or behaviors, strengths and weaknesses, and the impact of these things on others. We have found that internal self-awareness or private self-awareness is associated with higher job and relationship satisfaction. So this person is aware of themselves. They're aware of their thoughts, their feelings, their reactions, how they fit in their environment, right? They have that kind of awareness, their aspirations, the core values, the relationship values. These are very important things. And even when I work with clients, this is not the article, this is me talking here. Even when I work with clients, these are things that I try to help them to understand, right? And I am back to the article. We have found that internal self-awareness is associated with higher job and relationship satisfaction, personal and social control, and happiness. And it is negatively related to anxiety, stress, and depression. So the more that we have internal or private self-awareness, the less there is that anxiety, stress, and depression. And the second category, or the second type of self-awareness, back to the article, the second category is external self-awareness, or what some people call public self-awareness. And this means understanding how other people view us in terms of those factors that were listed above, and I'll share them again, which are our values, our passions, our aspirations, our, fit in our environment, our reactions, including our thoughts, our feelings, behaviors, strengths, and weaknesses. So the article is saying our research shows that people who know how others see them are more skilled at showing empathy and taking others' perspectives into consideration. Yes? For leaders who see themselves as their employees do, their employees tend to have a better relationship with them, feel more satisfied with them, and see them as more effective in general. It is easy to assume that being high on one type of awareness would mean being high on the other. But research has found virtually no relationship between them, right? So that's interesting that, you might think if somebody, has high internal self-awareness or high private self-awareness, they would have high public self-awareness. But their research has actually shown that there's no correlation between them. That is why I could have high internal self-awareness. So I understand my needs, my values, my whatever. But then I could still say and do things that make people feel that just unloving and unkind, and not even be aware of it, where somebody will have to confront me on that and let me realize how this is making them feel. And then that's when I become aware. So what Dr. Urich is saying is that, while we may assume that being high on one type of awareness would mean we'll be high on the other, research actually doesn't show that, right? And what they have done, they have identified 4 leadership archetypes, each with a different set of opportunities to improve. And so what they did is that they looked at low internal self-awareness or low private self-awareness and high internal self-awareness, which is also high private self-awareness. And then they had low external self-awareness or low public self-awareness and high external self-awareness or high public self-awareness. So I will be using the word, I hope I remember, public self-awareness to mean how others see us, right? And how our behaviors impact others. And I'll be using in the private self-awareness in terms of understanding. That means us being aware of all those different things that I've spoken about with ourselves. So based on that, they were able to come up with 4 self-awareness archetypes. 4 self-awareness archetypes. So the first one are the seekers. And the seekers have low private self-awareness. So they're not sure about a lot of things about themselves. And low public self-awareness. So they're not even aware of how people may view them. So they don't yet know who they are, what they stand for, or how their team sees them, or how even others who have to interact with them sees them. As a result, they might feel stuck or frustrated with their performance and with their relationships. So there's a person who has low private self-awareness and low public self-awareness. And then you have a person who has high private self-awareness, but low public self-awareness. So their private self-awareness is high, but their public self-awareness is low. And they are introspectors. They are clear on who they are. So they can tell you who they are. They can tell you what they are about. They can tell you what their strengths, their weaknesses are, right? But they don't challenge their own views or search for blind spots by getting feedback from others. So they honestly believe They know this is who they are, what they like, what they don't like, but they don't realize how their behaviors are impacting others. So while I know these things about me, the public part, how are these things impacting others? That is not there, right? And this can harm their relationships. And I would say this will harm their relationships, and it will also limit their success. And then you have those who are low on the internal or private self-awareness, but they are high on the public self-awareness. So they low in terms of themselves, what they know, but they high on others, right? So they are pleasers. They can be so focused on appearing a certain way to others, right? And making people feel comfortable and doing things so people don't get offended and people feel hurt and all these different things. So they can be so focused on appearing a certain way to others that they could be overlooking what matters to them, because they're tuning in more to public than what is happening inside of them. Over time, they tend to make choices that are not in service of their own success and fulfillment. So that's the pleaser, where the internal or the private self-awareness is low, but the public or external self-awareness is high. And I hope you all are following me. And then you have the person, right, which is where we would want to be, right? The person who has high internal self-awareness. So this is high private self-awareness, but they also have high public self-awareness. They know who they are, what they want. So you call this person an aware person. And remember, as I said, nobody's 100% aware, and we're growing, and therefore we need others. We need God, we need the Word, we need the Holy Spirit. You need feedback from people, right? And this person who is high on private self-awareness and high on public self-awareness, they are aware, they know who they are, what they want to accomplish, and seek out and value others' opinions, others' suggestions, others' opinion of themselves, or even evaluation. This is where leaders begin to fully realize the true benefits of self-awareness. And this is anybody could do that. And that's why even for me, I am willing for a child to correct me, because I understand that I have a blind self. I understand that I am under correction, and there are things that I am doing that I may not see for myself, right? And we have to be open for feedback from others and ask God to help us, please, not to guess, be all defensive or who are you to tell? No. When we do those things, we stay blind. So when it comes to internal and external self-awareness, it is tempting to value one over the other. I'm back in the article, right? When it comes to internal or external self-awareness, it is tempting to value one over the other, but leaders must actively work on both seeing themselves clearly and getting feedback to understand how others see them. So it's not just about me being willing to see myself and understand myself. I must also be willing to get feedback about how others see me. So from time to time, I would ask my husband, how are you doing? Am I positively impacting your life? Because I want to know. We need feedback. I could think I am best wife ever and then get a rude awakening, right? So the highly self-aware people we interviewed were actively focused on balancing the scale. So they were balancing the scale where it comes to their internal self-awareness, their private self-awareness, and also their external self-awareness, their public self-awareness. The bottom line is that self-awareness is not one truth. It is a delicate balance of two distinct, even competing viewpoints. Experience and power hinder self-awareness. This is also a part of the article. Contrary to popular belief, studies have shown that people do not always learn from experience. Like, we know that. Because there are people who you would think, but this person has so much experience here, they should know better. That's not how human beings grow as we connect to God, as we submit to God's word, anyway, right. So contrary to popular belief, studies have shown that people do not always learn from experience, that expertise does not help people root out false information. And that seeing ourselves as highly experienced can keep us from doing our homework, seeking disconfirming evidence, and questioning our assumptions. So what is this actually saying? You could think, because I have all this experience, because I have all this expertise, right, then how I see it is exactly how it is. And actually, studies have shown the opposite, right? Because it literally stops people from seeking feedback from others because they think they know it. They think they understand and they have it. I've been doing this for 20-something years, so I'm sure I know what I'm doing, right? Just as experience can lead to a false sense of confidence, back at the article, just as an experience can lead to a false sense of confidence about our performance, it can also make us overconfident about our level of self-knowledge or self-awareness. For example, one study found that the more experienced managers were less accurate in assessing their leadership effectiveness here and there, compared with less experienced managers. Similarly, the more power a leader holds, the more likely they are to overestimate their skills and abilities. One study of more than 3,600 leaders across a variety of roles and industries found that relative to low-level leaders, higher-level leaders more significantly overvalue their skills compared with others' perceptions. In fact, this pattern existed for 19 out of 20 competencies the researchers measured, including emotional self-awareness, accurate self-assessment, empathy, trustworthiness, and leadership performance. End of quote from the article. And what this is actually saying is that as we go through life and we get more experience and more expertise, we could actually think that we know it. We know it and we know it all. And because of that, we do not allow for feedback from others. We do not allow evidence that says to the contrary of how we see ourselves. We don't allow a questioning of the things that we think and see about ourselves. And sometimes if people do it, we see them as traitors and not supportive. So I say to Tiffany, who is a professional broadcaster and whatever extraordinary, I say, Tiffany, the way in which you handle so and so and so, I think, like Petreece feels years. I'm doing this for 20-something years now. Right? And then you start seeing me as a what people, all these things we've seen, all these memes, I'm just a traitor, I'm not a supporter, and it's toxic people like that. You need to keep out your life. This time it's not that. It's sometimes persons are, yes, you are an expert. Yes, you've been doing this for 100 years since Adam was a boy, but it doesn't mean we cannot learn. And it doesn't mean that everything we're doing is correct. You could be, as people say, practice make perfect, right? But if you're practicing the wrong thing, you are becoming perfect doing the wrong thing, right? So this is really important. Now, there are 5 elements of self-awareness, and these are: 1, consciousness. And this means being aware of your internal experiences, including your emotions and your thoughts. So you're conscious, you know what you're thinking, you know what you're feeling. And that's very important for self-awareness, because I know if I'm feeling really tired, this is not the time to have no deep conversation with me. I might get vexed with you and walk off. Right? So, you know yourself. Sometimes you know what you're feeling. So okay, I feel a little anxious here. Probably I should take some deep breaths, So consciousness, be aware of your internal experiences, including your emotions and thoughts. And then another element of self-awareness is self-knowledge. So number 2 is self-knowledge. And this element is focused on your understanding of who you are. So your beliefs, your values, your motivations, right? Your strengths, your weaknesses. You know yourself, where you operate best, what drains you, what energizes you, your self-knowledge. The third element of self-awareness is emotional intelligence. And this element is focused on your ability to understand now and manage your emotions, right? So it is your ability now. So yes, you know them, you know what your emotions are, you know that, but it's your ability now to understand and manage your emotions. Why do I feel the way I feel? And be able to manage, but also to understand the emotions of others and be empathetic. So this aspect, this element of self-awareness is not just understanding your emotions and being able to manage them, but also understanding the emotions of others and being empathetic. And I hope as listeners, you're really following in terms of understanding this is what self-awareness is, right? And then there's the fourth component of of self-awareness is self-acceptance. And this aspect is centered on accepting who you are and showing yourself compassion and kindness. So, yeah, I am an eye, I'm not a nose. So I'm okay if I can't smell, right? God created us to operate in different areas, and we all need each other, right? If we have to get through this life. So if that crow had some self-acceptance, she would have never lost her cheese to that fox, because she don't know she can't sing. She could fly real nice, and she's black and beautiful, but she cannot sing. So she'd have never opened her mouth. She'd have just give a little and gobble down her cheese, right? Yeah, you stay there with your mama guy himself. I ain't falling for that, right? And we need to be able to do that. And then the fifth element of self-awareness is self-reflection. This element of self-awareness involves being able to think deeply about your feelings, your thoughts, your goals, in order to gain an even better understanding of who you are and your place in this world. And one of the things that I know, and we talk about improving, journaling has helped me with this. So those 5 elements again of self-awareness are consciousness, self-knowledge, emotional intelligence, self-acceptance, self-reflection. Right, that's it. Yes. And the benefits. So I'll close with the benefits of self-awareness. And they are being better able to manage and regulate your emotions. So you're aware of how you feel, so you can be proactive with them. And being proactive with your emotions really is naming it. What is it? Give it a name. Naming it to tame it, and then deciding, what do I need to think and or do if I need to feel differently, right? A benefit of self-awareness is better communication, and for a number of reasons. You know yourself, you're aware of your feelings, you can manage them, you know your needs and your wants, and also you understand the feelings and needs and wants of others. You know, you're empathetic, and that could only help in you having better communication. It also, self-awareness helps with better decision-making. So you know your values, you know your beliefs, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know, and you sense what God is doing in your life. So you're able to make better decisions. And of course, it would improve your relationships, and we can see that, right? You have higher levels of happiness. You have more confidence. better job satisfaction because you also choose things in alignment with what you believe God has called you to do, with your core values. You have better leadership skills because you are able to see people, really see them and hear them. And you know yourself. You know where, listen, I can't do this. You are much better at this than me. So you know you're delegating and building up others becomes better. And a better overall perspective when one of the benefits of self-awareness, you do not only see things through your eyes, but you can also see another's point of view while staying true to your values and belief. You also, because you're empathetic, you do not see people as things to be used, right? You see people as just as valuable as you. You're more likely to make better choices, of course, right? So you recognize your strengths and your challenges when you have better self-awareness. You understand and talk about your needs and feelings. You're able to do that. You recognize other people's needs and feelings. You see how your behavior affects others, and you develop a growth mindset because you're accepting of yourself and you learn from your mistakes. So in our next programs, because I'm never sure how many programs a series will have, I will want to be looking at what behaviors normally indicate that you lack self-awareness and how to become more self-aware. So I really hope that this program today, was enlightening, was a blessing. Yeah, so Tiffany, I really would like, especially when we enter a new year and we want to grow. I think that should be kind of a goal for our lives. So I think this is a very important aspect if we need to grow. And because, even over the holidays, you see certain things and you say, wow, this person could do with, a little more self-awareness. And me too. I don't think anybody's 100%. So I really value the feedback of others, and there are times where, of course, I've had to apologize and, see it differently, look at it differently. But it's so important for healthy relationships.
You have a great one. And until we meet again, right, for another edition of Healthy Relationships. God
Thank
bless you.
you.
Thank you
Blessings.
so very much.
Bye-bye.
God bless you.